I don't think I've ever seen a movie be remade after a year. Right? This movie came out 2022. This has been in the works since early 2023. So less than a year between when the original came out and when they started working on the remake. And my big question is just why? Why do this? Why this quickly? Why this way? Did this movie need to be made, or should people just have spotlighted the old movie? Presumably they have the rights to it, so why not re-release this movie?
I think they just made it this way because it's more accessible.
Yeah. So the original is about 70-80% in English. So it's not even fully subtitled. Yeah. So the Danes speak Danish among themselves, the Dutch speak Dutch among themselves, but when they talk to each other, they speak in English. And that's about 80% of the runtime. So it's not even a foreign movie in that sense.
Yeah. But usually a lot of times, obviously, they've got a star in it. So they've got a man like James. So a lot of the time when you have that star, you know, and obviously they think it's a really good movie, but they just, okay, let's just remake this with a star and then it can be even bigger. So I just don't think they had enough faith that the original would have had a bigger splash than
But remake. We always say that the movie star is dead, right? So why does this matter? Why remake it with a big star like James McAvoy?
That's what people say?
I mean, that's just the conventional wisdom, right? That the movie star is a thing of the 90s. And people go to movies based on IPs and not based on actors. Which I don't think is entirely true, but I think it's partially true.
I feel like there's a lot more relatability in having a British and American couple in this compared to like a Dutch and a Danish one, especially when you're like talking about a lot of like the nuances, which a lot of people like, if you're trying to sort of know mass market this to sort of know wider audiences, you're trying to get like a big domestic box office in America and stuff like that. Maybe people aren't as aware of the nuances of sort of know the original movie. They don't understand sort of the Danish culture at all, so that when they're seeing the events of the movie unfold, I think like you mentioned, is that like you're almost questioning why they're allowing things to happen, especially like the scene that you mentioned about the guys left the keys in the car. Every normal person would be like, yeah, you just take the car and go. So I feel like there's just like that extra level of relatability in having the couples being sort of a culture that you're a little bit more familiar with, or like being sort of people that you do know, and of course like changing some of the nuances that made the original movie itself, because I feel like they are very similar movie, but they do deviate in sort of like I said, in very important ways, and sort of has like the big happy ending and stuff like that, and that's just like a little bit more palatable to your typical the audience that would sort of making the box office for the movie. It's a little bit more palatable for them. So
it's already made 21 million at the time we're recording this. And the original Danish movie made $631,000. So it was a limited release. I don't know the exact details. So this definitely has made vastly, vastly more money than the original. And is that enough reason?
I'm on the fence about it. Because you want, like, if you've got like a good thing, if you've got like a sure thing, you do want people to see it. You do want people to appreciate it. And I don't know, maybe this helps people go back to the original, and helps people kind of like navigate back to the original. But I don't know where I sit on this, because like part of me believes that you have your pure body of work, and you don't want to have like any type of like remix out there. And like if you've got like this like particular, like, I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but if you've got like this sort of thing that's like really great, really good, you want people to check out the original. You don't want people checking out like the remade version of it. But at the same time, I kind of understand why they would do it, and I understand why they would like go that route. They've like made X amount more money. It does help bring spotlight to the original, because a lot of the discussion that I have seen is comparing sort of the original. I mean, I'm surprised the original made 600K for the amount of like conversation I've seen between this one and the original one. I'm surprised it's only made 600K, but maybe it helps spread a little bit of spotlight on the original movie as well.
It certainly did for me, and I'm not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, normally you buy the rights to a movie and then remake it because of the IP, right? Like last year we had Exorcist, where they paid, I think it was 400 million for the rights. And that was because Exorcist is such a big name, right? That if you make a horror movie and it's an official Exorcist movie, that by itself is extremely valuable, right? And that will increase the box office. Before this, not many people had heard of Speak No Evil, right? So why not just make a movie that's kind of similar? But if it's like thematically, it's quite different, right? We talked about the masculinity aspect. We talked about the domestic abuse aspect, which is quite different from the original in terms of theme. Like the thematic space of it is quite different. So why not simply make a movie that's quite similar in its plot, but actually about these other things with different actors, different location? Would they have gained that much from having the name? And I don't think they did.
I don't think they did. No, like from the box office, it's only not to say it's only done 21 million, but it's obviously like not a mega hit. So I don't think it's like gained too much from it. I don't know.
It doesn't strike me as the kind of name that would bring in all the, like, it's not that big a cult classic. I think it's well liked among a small crowd, and but that's about it. And I think the vast majority of people who went to see this just thought it looked interesting, or they liked James McAvoy or something, but it's not because they like the original that much. I don't think. So it's just a little bit puzzling to me. Why remake this so quickly? Why pay for the rights to a movie that nobody's heard of? So just a little bit puzzling, the whole thing.